Hi, welcome back. This is the 5th video in our series this month on skill-based intervention, and I am Dr. Shepard. I'm a psychologist, and I often work with children with autism, and I'm here to talk to you about the differences between shaping and chaining and how we address teaching a child a skill that maybe is due to a skill deficit. So shaping is where you're working towards a terminal behavior. So maybe our goal is for a child to be able to sit for 20 minutes or 10 minutes. Maybe our goal is verbally requesting. So when asked, what do you want? The child says milk. Or maybe it's decreasing the amount of time to compliance. So if we say pick up the toys, we want it to take 10 seconds until they respond rather than 2 minutes. So it's a single behavior. Whereas chaining is putting several small behaviors together. So chaining might be completing your morning routine. I want you to brush your teeth, to wash your face, to put on your clothes. But chaining may also be very discreet, such as hand washing. So I need you to turn on the water. That's the first behavior. I need you to put your hands under the water. That's the second behavior. I need you to get a pump of soap, 1 pump. That's the third behavior. The fourth behavior is rub your hands. That's the fifth behavior. Rub between your fingers. That's the sixth behavior. Rub your nails. That's the seventh behavior. The eighth behavior, maybe you kind of do the backs of your hands. Okay, now 9, we're going to rinse the hands off, both sides. 10, we're going to turn off the water. 11, we're going to dry our hands with a paper towel. 12, we're going to put the paper towel in the trash can. So in that, there are many steps to one behavior, washing your hands, okay? So when you're shaping, you're building up towards a final goal of one behavior, like sitting. Whereas chaining, there's a lot of little behaviors, like putting on your clothes. You need to pick up the shirt. You need to put it over your head. You need to put in one arm. You need to put in another arm. You need to pull the shirt down. So that's multiple behaviors. So that would be chaining. You're putting little pieces together versus working on one final picture. Okay. So how do you shape a behavior? Again, it's one behavior, and you're going to take baby steps. So we did our skill versus performance assessment. Now you need to shape up the behavior. If the child could sit for 2 minutes, we're going to start with our baseline is 2 minutes. That's our initial starting point. We're going to work on 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So our reward is going to come if they sit for 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Then we're going to increase that. We're going to increase it to 2 minutes and 30 seconds, 2 minutes and 45 seconds, 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. So we're going to slowly increase our time until they are sitting for the duration of time. Maybe we want them to say milk. So we're going to reinforce any verbal sound. So we're going to say, what do you want? And we're going to hold up the milk. And if they make a noise, we're going to say, great job, here's your milk. And then we're going to say, what do you want? Say, So we're going to work on saying, So we're going from a verbal sound to the sound. And then once they're doing the sound consistently, then we're going to say meh. And when they get the milk, okay? So we're going to work on building that up to saying milk. And the further they get, or the closer they get to that, we're going to have criterion along the way where we're going to reinforce that. If we're working on decreasing our compliance, so maybe it takes them 5 minutes to comply on something, now we're going to reinforce at 4.5 minutes. Okay, so they complied faster today, 4.5 minutes, than they did yesterday at 5 minutes. We're going to do that for 3 days. Once they're complying at 4.5 minutes consistently, then we're going to drop it down to 4 minutes. Okay, now they're complying at 4 minutes consistently, drop it down to 3.5 minutes. And you're just going to slowly drop that back down until they're getting to that 10-second, 15-second compliance. That's your ultimate goal. But you're slowly baby stepping your way to it. It's just like learning to run a marathon. You don't go out and say, hey, I'm going 23 miles today. You say, hey, I'm going to go out and make it a mile. So with chaining, you break it down. You do a task analysis where you break the skill down into very specific steps. So what are the steps that I need the child to do? You break that down, and then you either start at the top. So let's say we're working with hand washing. We're going to start rewarding, turning on the sink, and then we're going to do everything else for them. But we're just going to reward if they turn on the sink. And then after they're consistently walking to the sink, turning it on, then we're going to reward turning it on and getting their hands wet. And then once they're consistently doing that, we're going to reward walking, turning on, getting their hands wet, and getting one pump of soap. And so you just add one behavior after they've learned or mastered the one before that. So that's what's called forward chaining. Backward chaining is we're going to do all of it for them except the towel. So we're going to start at the end of the chain rather than the beginning of the chain. Backward chaining is also really good for putting on shirts or clothes, because it's usually hardest to get your head in the shirt and to get your arms in the hands or in the armholes, but it's not hard to pull down your shirt. And so when you're doing backward chaining, maybe you put it on their head, you help them get their hands in, and then they pull it down. Once they're consistently pulling it down, then you put it on their head, you put one arm in, and then you have them, they are required to put the other arm in and pull it down. And then you put it over their head. Now they have to put both arms in and pull it down. And then they have to start putting it on their head, putting both arms in and pulling it down. So that's called chaining. You can start at the top, you can start at the bottom of the chain. There is something called total task chaining, so you can teach the whole chain at once, but I would encourage you to be really comfortable or familiar with forward or backward before you start with total task. Have a great day and keep on watching.